Let's get into this. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're talking about a brand new film coming out later this week on the horror streaming service Shudder, known as The Unheard. Directed by Jeffrey A. Brown and written by Michael and Sean Rasmussen, this film stars Lachlan Watson, Michele Hicks, Brendan Meyer, and Nick Sandow. As I usually like to do when I get the chance to check out a movie a little bit early, I want to say a big thanks to those very kind folks over at Shudder for sending me over yet another screener. This time around for a film called The Unheard, coming out on their streaming platform later this week on March 31st. And right out of the gate, I was really interested in checking this one out because I was recently introduced to Lachlan Watson, the main star of this film, through the series Chucky. If you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you know that I'm a huge fan of the slasher genre, with Chucky being my favorite, and I love that show. I've covered both seasons here as well as all of the movies, and yeah, Lachlan Watson recently played the characters of Glenn and Glenda, the human form of the character. And so yeah, I was really interested to see this movie because I really enjoyed their weird, wacky performance in that show. I had a lot of fun seeing Glenn and Glenda brought back to the big screen, or to the screen again, and yeah, I really enjoyed the way they had fun with that character. So right out of the gate, going into this, I was excited to see what this movie was going to be all about. And of course, I will be staying away from spoilers since the movie hasn't even been released as of recording this, but of course I know that some of you are probably coming to this video after having seen the movie yourself, and now you wanted to hear what other people have to say about it. And what I can start off my thoughts with when it comes to this movie is, unfortunately, I was not a fan. I found this film to be really boring. I just felt that it was meandering for a majority of its runtime. The film clocks in at about 2 hours and 5 minutes, and I honestly felt like it overstayed its welcome. I was already starting to find myself incredibly bored about 30 minutes into this film, and I ultimately really saw where the film was going. There was nothing about it that really shook me to my core, creeped me out, excited me, kept me engaged, and by the time the runtime was over, I was just dying for the credits to come. I was actually very happy when the credits started rolling because I knew that my adventure with this film was over. And that does pain me because, again, like I said, I was looking forward to checking out this movie. I saw a trailer for it, I saw the poster, again, I saw who the main star was, and I was all in. I thought this was definitely going to be something that could have been eerie and creepy. I think there was some solid potential here. This movie actually reminds me of another film that I think is substantially better called Hush, where a deaf woman ends up having to deal with a home invasion. Now, this isn't a movie that has the same premise. There's not a home invasion element to this movie specifically, but this movie does dabble in some supernatural and some slasher elements. I won't get too much further into that just yet. But yeah, Hush was something I thought about a lot while watching this movie, and that's a film I substantially enjoy far more than this one. When it comes to The Unheard, the base premise is we're introduced to a young individual known as Chloe, who when they were a young child, their mother disappeared. They don't really know what happened. They were the last one to see their mother, and they believe they just ran off or maybe even went somewhere and died. And now it's just them and their father, but when the movie opens, they're actually going in to take on a procedure that would help them get their hearing back, because when they were a young child, they actually had some sort of infection in their ear that actually caused them to lose their hearing. Slowly over the course of the film, they start to regain some ability to hear things, and after being stuck at an old family home where the mother actually went missing, Chloe begins to start to hear some weird things, specifically their mother's voice. And over the course of the film, they start to try to unravel where this voice is coming from and if their mother actually had gone missing. While that's going on, we also learn that there are some women that are going missing in this town, and over the course of the film, there's something that kind of plays out there that kind of has a bit of almost of a slasher element to it. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to get too deep into spoilers. This movie, just for me, overstayed its welcome. I think that the movie was ultimately just kind of aimless for majority of its runtime. I've said it on the channel many times. The worst thing a movie can be for me personally is boring. I don't mind a slow burn film. I don't mind a film that's slow in general, as long as there's something to grip onto, whether it be engaging characters, a gripping story, some great visuals, beautiful cinematography, or whatever the case may be. But when it came to this movie, there was nothing about it that ever really felt wholly original. It's well shot for the most part. It's competently shot. The performances are solid, but I don't think any of the writing is giving any of these actors anything to really do anything amazing with. I never really found myself gripped to the characters. I feel like everybody is a fairly one-note character. There wasn't anything about them that was substantially exciting or gripping to watch. And beyond that, there's some good lighting throughout, some good sound mixing, as we do deal with a character who is deaf, and at times the audio is a bit muted for us as an audience so that we kind of feel that journey alongside Chloe. But beyond those technical elements that I thought were pretty solid, what this movie just really lacked for me was a compelling narrative. And like I said, the movie clocks in at 2 hours and 5 minutes, and I ultimately felt like they could have told the same story that we got here in about half the time, or at least within an hour and 20 minutes. However, I never really found that any of it was all that engaging anyway. Even if they would have shortened this film down, I don't really think it would have made it any better. It just feels like most of this film is our main character Chloe sitting around this old family home as they start to kind of uncover some old VHS tapes and start to hear some weird sounds across the house, and ultimately that's really it. There's a couple of characters that pop in here and there, most notably the character of Hank, a friend of the father's who comes over every here and there to help with some things around the house, like getting the hot water running and helping a car get started, as well as a neighbor who they used to hang out with when they were younger, known as Joshua. And beyond those two characters and the doctor character who also reappears over the course of the film, who actually did the procedure on Chloe, there aren't really very many recurring characters, and majority of this film is just the character of Chloe seeing and hearing some weird things in this house, and the movie trying to be creepy, utilizing some static and loud bass and high-pitched noises, along with some erratic editing to try to make something feel creepy that ultimately just never really felt scary, never felt creepy, and just consistently felt boring and aimless. There's a couple of moments in this film where I can say, wow, that was some good use of practical effects and some good camera work there, but for the most part, this movie just feels really standard. I don't really like to use the term mid. I think it's such an annoying term that people throw out to a lot of movies nowadays that are not considered mid, or really shouldn't be considered mid. They have a lot more merit to them, and for me, this is the perfect example of a movie that's just there, you know. There's nothing about it that I would ever recommend to somebody. There are no characters, no visuals, no action, no scary moments, no camera work, no over-the-top, really well-done lighting that you haven't seen before in substantially better films. And I don't want to blame the actors specifically that are in this movie. Personally, I found that they were solid, but again, it comes down to what these characters were saying and the screen time they were given and what they were told to do. The screenplay for me was just boring. It just felt like majority of the pages must have been Chloe walks around room, sees thing, hears thing, gets confused, looks into it a little bit more, and scene ends. That's kind of it. And a lot of times, it doesn't even really feel like our character Chloe is really uncovering much. They're seeing some things happen, but there isn't really an abundance that it really feels like they're really uncovering. Ultimately, the film was dull. I didn't really have a good time with it, and I can't see myself revisiting this one anytime soon. But of course, as usual, I want to say a big thanks to you guys for watching, and a big thanks to the people at Shudder for always sending me over an early screener. I'm always appreciative, and it's always a fantastic time when I love one of their movies, but unfortunately, this was not a Shudder film that I can really recommend, to be honest. So a big thanks to you guys for watching. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video. It really helps the channel out, as well as leaving your comments down below, whether you're watching this before the movie actually drops or the movie is what brought you here to the channel. I definitely want to invite you guys to go ahead and leave some comments down below. Let me know what you thought about the film, as well as subscribe to the channel so you guys can stick around for way more movie reviews here on the channel and just good fun times. A big thanks to you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.